Previously on F1 25 career mode. This is as good of an opportunity as we are going to get for a win in Formula 1 as the lights go out and we are underway. Tsunoda gets a decent start. Hamilton's going to cover pretty well, covering the inside side by side with Tsunoda now through the first corner. We're going to get the elbows out. I want to make sure that we get that move done as we are now chasing Lewis Hamilton through Eau Rouge here. Wow, what a start for us. What an opportunity. P2, we could be going for our very first win. It's a sprint win, but it's a win nonetheless. Going downhill here, and we are a lot closer to Hamilton this time. Just under 3 tenths behind him, 2 tenths, just over 1 tenth. And we haven't even got DRS yet. The move, oh my god, a little too close for comfort right there. Luckily, we didn't get any damage, but the move has been done on Lewis Hamilton. We have taken the lead of the Spa sprint. It is all eyes on me as we go towards the end of lap 8, the final lap here in the sprint, coming up towards the bus stop chicane, and it's a dominant win right here, quite far ahead of Oscar Piastri. It is us in the Junior Red Bull. It may be a sprint, but we have won our very first race in Formula 1. Yeah, all 3 different tyre compounds. So we're on the mediums. We're going to go mediums, mediums, hards. Piastri's on the hard, so he's going to have a really long stint. And Verstappen is on the softs as we now wait for the 5 red lights to go out. And we are underway. It's a decent start for Verstappen. It's a horrible start from Piastri on those cold, hard tyres as we are now side by side. That's right. The 2 Red Bulls in different colours, side by side, for the lead of the race here at the Belgian Grand Prix. We're going to let Verstappen go a little bit here. We don't want to go side by side into Eau Rouge, especially this early. The stakes are not that high just yet. We're going to wait for the opportunity here as Verstappen goes defensive. We're going to go on the outside here. And look at that, around the outside to take the lead in the Belgian Grand Prix. For now, even if I was on a different team, I'm not going to battle Verstappen too much, purely because I want to keep those cars behind us far away as possible. We know how the DRS trains can split here at Spa-Francorchamps, so all we've got to do is work with Verstappen to just stay ahead and use the DRS that we have on each other and Sainz's lack of DRS to just get further and further out ahead. So I am putting no fight up against Verstappen here. Even if I was on a different team, I wouldn't do it neither, because we're working with him. And on to the next lap, we are now going to retake P1. We're now 2 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz. So this strategy is absolutely working. And Verstappen, he knows what we're doing. He's going to be working with us here to let us out in front to make sure he gets DRS on the next lap. As now all the pit stops are done, lap 16, Piastri is not within DRS, Verstappen's not within DRS, so a pretty lonely race for all these guys. The story of the day, and honestly the story of the weekend, is a huge domination of not only the sprint race, but also the full race. I said our first Formula 1 win was in the sprint, but this is official. The Racing Bull of us comes across the line to win our very first Formula 1 Grand Prix.
Awesome. Just amazing, mate. Well done.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Jordy, and welcome back to F1 25 driver career mode for the Hungarian Grand Prix. But if you missed last episode, it was the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa GP, where we got not only a win in the sprint, but a win in the full Grand Prix. Our very first wins in Formula 1, moving us up to P4 in the standings over Hamilton and Leclerc. they'll probably catch up to us at some point. I'm not too sure if Sonoda will end up catching up to us now. We might actually finish ahead of him in the standings entirely. And Mercedes still pretty far behind us. Russell is starting to pick up form a little bit, or at least he was in Silverstone, but a P9 in Belgium, and it's back to normal for what is the worst Mercedes season in a very, very long time. Elsewhere in the championship, Max Verstappen still leads. Lando Norris had a really bad result last time out, despite getting the fastest lap. Oscar Piastri is consistent as ever, but those 3 DNFs are really holding him back. He would absolutely be P2 in the standings if not for that, but it is what it is. So as for right now, we've got Hungary next. And if you missed the ending of last episode, we actually just had a secret meeting with Aston Martin, which I actually ended up accepting. So, yeah, we are negotiating a move with Aston Martin for the next season, simply because the next season in our career mode is actually the 2026 season. Adrian Newey will be making that car, and the prospect of perhaps maybe teaming up with Fernando Alonso, my favourite F1 driver, it's just too tempting to ignore. But that's pretty much all we've got to talk about. We've got the ICE that's just come in, and we are now going over to the Hungaroring. A very different track, very technical track, and a track that's very difficult to overtake on. So qualifying around here is going to be extremely important. This is actually the track I raced around most on the beta for this game. The other 2 tracks were Texas and Las Vegas for the first 2 betas, and then beta 3 was different. And practice 1 is already in the bin, it seems, because it's raining. We're going to keep qualifying on short, because I actually really enjoyed that format last episode, so we're going to keep it there. With the developments completed, including the rotor speed for the ERS, we're going to look now at progress history, and we're actually the 3rd best car on the grid. We were the 4th best car on the grid last time out, but we had the best powertrain. But with those last couple of upgrades, we have now moved ahead of both Ferrari and Mercedes. So, yeah, that just goes to show how successful our upgrades have been this season. I haven't changed any settings. These are default settings. We just happen to have the 3rd best car on the grid now, which is insane. But yeah, that's pretty much all we got to say. So without further ado, let's go into qualifying around the Hungaroring.
No pit stops, no strategy. It's all about the pace today. Qualifying day here at the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Well, here we are at one of the more difficult circuits on the Formula One calendar to make overtakes on. In fact, this circuit is eerily similar to Monaco. You'll hear that comparison quite a lot. It's a little bit better than Monaco. The 2 DRS zones that it does have does facilitate overtakes, but after Sector 1, both Sector 2 and Sector 3 have little to no room for overtakes unless you are obscenely quicker. It is the closest track that we have to Monaco that isn't Monaco. That doesn't mean it's not redeemable. It's still a very, very good circuit, very enjoyable. Unfortunately, though, qualifying doesn't start off too well for us. Of course, I've decided to keep short qualifying, and because of that, the fuel mix kept it, 10 plus laps, which is crazy. I know the game does that to facilitate medium tyres, but still, yeah. I forgot it all over again. Hopefully in the next episode we won't forget it, but I did have to go out and redo that lap. But it was only good enough for P19, so our pace around here is not good at all. And yeah, this is all about chassis and aerodynamics, but this also comes just down to my skill as well. I have never been that good at Hungary against the AI. Usually I do have to turn the AI difficulty down a little bit just to get some sort of consistency. I've kept it the same here, but yeah, it's not been good for us at all if even that improvement lap, even though it was on a worn set of tyres by then, losing all the weight off of the car should at least have us in front of like the Kick Saubers and the Haas, or getting close to the Haas of Behrman, for example. Like, I was expecting a bit higher than this, but It's not good at all. So obviously we did have to go out on another fresh set of tyres, which I would have done anyway. We usually set like 2 laps for the one qualifying session. Coming round the final corner now, it's been a really good improvement. I've completely burnt all the ERS that I possibly could to gain 6 tenths, and it is only good enough for P17. So that's not good at all. That's the worst qualifying position that we've had all season. So a complete crash back to reality. And yeah, it just goes to show that the AI around Hungary have always been pretty bad. It's strange because they should be able to suss this out in the beta because it was in the beta, but whatever. Our teammate qualifies really well, so I'm quite curious to see what happens as we go ahead into the Grand Prix.
Welcome to Budapest once again for another round of Formula One action. Historically, a good race for first-time victories, with Button, Hill, Alonso and Heikki Kovalainen all reaching the top step of the podium for the very first time right here. We're northeast of Budapest for today's race at the 2.7-mile Hungaroring circuit. 14 corners here, 8 to the right and 6 to the left, on a track where downforce is king and passing is notoriously difficult. And with me for this commentary this afternoon, former racing driver Naomi Schiff. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, every driver certainly has their own way of preparing themselves before a race. But I can tell you that pre-race rituals are a real thing. When I was in go-karting, I used to touch every wheel in a specific sequence before I got into the kart. And then I stepped up to cars and had a specific set of fireproof base layers just for race day. So watch the drivers when they're on the grid. Some may be sitting on the floor and isolating, others may be up to other things that they do. But these little things really help their minds get ready for the race.
Back of the grid, not great, I know, but let's just try and use the first lap to push your way up the order.
Well, about that, we just had a patch that improved the AI race starts. I didn't see too much of an issue in the first place. They felt quite similar to F123, where a lot of the time they would screw up, but you wouldn't really notice too much, you know? But apparently a lot of people complained about it, so I'm doing this race. This is my first race, the first time I hopped on right as that patch went live. So we're going to see a bit of a different race start, improved AI race starts, so that might make our recovery drive here a little worse. We're not the only one doing a recovery drive though, because look at the car in front of us. It is Oscar Piastri in P15. I don't know if he qualified there. I didn't quite look at the qualifying leaderboard when we were just recording my audio by then, but yeah, we go up to 5 red lights. I'm hoping our teammate Isaac Hadjar does well, as we are now underway. It's the 2 Red Bulls, 1-2, both Williams in the top 10, so a really good qualifying for them as Max Verstappen goes defensive against Charles Leclerc. Who is going to come out on top here? It is Max Verstappen, so that's not a good sign for the rest of the drivers here. Once Max Verstappen gets out ahead, he's going to go off into the distance, as we are now trailing Lance Stroll, diving down the inside to see if we can get past him. I want to get past these cars as quickly as possible, and as you can tell, we haven't gained as many positions as we probably would do on any other race because of the improved AI race starts. So we've only improved a couple of positions up to P15. I ideally would have wanted to be right behind Piastri still, because he's going to be storming through these cars in that McLaren, the best car on the grid. And obviously I would have wanted to follow him. So unfortunately we've got Esteban Ocon on the hards in the way, and as you can tell there's already a gap starting to form between him and Piastri, which means there's a gap starting to form between the rest of us. So I'm going to want to get this move done as quickly as possible. Bit of an unorthodox place to dive down the inside, but we get the move done, and now we can focus on chasing after the rest of the medium tyre runners. But as we move on to lap 4, not everything is going to plan. I'm actually struggling to keep up with the AI in the straights here. Hungary has always been one of the worst tracks for the AI in the last few years, since Codemasters have been struggling to improve the AI in terms of like acceleration out of corners. It's been an issue since F122. Wasn't so much of an issue in F123, but they weren't aggressive enough. They seem to have tuned that up a little bit, but as I've seen on Reddit, people going into the code and messing with it have actually found that if you change the AI speed coming out of corners, they're not aggressive enough, and you'll get DRS trains like we did in F124. So it's a bit difficult for them to strike a balance, as Fernando Alonso is now out of the race. Very unlucky for him. We are obviously chasing down Piastri, so it's not too bad right now, but it's coming out of the final corner that the AI kind of goes down into the distance, so we do struggle a little bit there. Of course, towards the end of the straight, we are able to pull it back a little bit. So against certain cars, we might still be able to dive down the inside and get a pass done. But for the likes of Oscar Piastri, for example, I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. And he's stuck behind Gasly. So we're going to be stuck in P13 for a while as Piastri looks to go around the outside of Pierre Gasly here. I think he's going to get the move done. So now we've got the Alpine of Pierre Gasly to catch up to, who is on the hards and also the weakest engine on the grid. So regardless of AI straight line speed, we've got the most powerful powertrain. So we're going to be able to pull it back in terms of top speed, as I now dive down the inside. That is an audacious dive, but we did it anyway. That's exactly what I was on about. The Renault's not going to have the top end speed, which means we're able to pull it back just a little bit. Obviously, ideally, we wouldn't have this issue, but it's either this or the AI just isn't aggressive enough, and we get very passive races, very easy races that I don't really want. You know, I actually really love the AI this year, so I'll happily take a little bit of AI straight line speed problem as long as it's nowhere near as bad as F124 was, as George Russell now sends a huge plume of smoke and enormous dirty air our way, so that definitely lost us a little bit of time. But Piastri is already 2 seconds ahead anyway, so I think he gained maybe like 5/10 off that or something, I don't know. But George Russell caps off an already really disappointing season for Mercedes, as we now follow Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari, and we go on the onboard as he looks to make the pass on the Red Bull of Yuki Tsunoda, who's absolutely lost the top two here. Leclerc and Verstappen down the road. Verstappen's probably in his own world. Leclerc has just gone round turn one. Lewis Hamilton round the outside. Tsunoda is still there, however, but Hamilton does have a second dose of DRS, and he gets that move done for P3. So Ferrari looking pretty quick. Verstappen's making the difference for the Red Bull at the very least, as we now come round the last few corners. And Hadshaw, oh no! Hadshaw spinning out on the final corner. He was probably like a lap or two off of his pit lap. He only would have had to last a little bit longer, but now he's getting swarmed by Antonelli, Gasly, Stroll going past as well. That is a race ender for Hadjar. He is not going to be able to recover from that one. That is absolutely, I feel really bad for Hadjar. His driver rating isn't good enough as it is, but we finally upgraded the car to a point where he could qualify really highly, and even then he spins out on the final corner of that lap. He's probably going to pit in the next lap or so, but now it's going to be up to us to hopefully pick up the pieces for the team. I don't know where we're going to be at in the grand scheme of things. I have pit a lap earlier than the default strategy was, so ideally that would be a lap earlier than the rest of the grid. We'll see. I'm quite confident on the hards, of course. Not entirely confident. Tyre wear is still a big issue this year. I say issue in terms of like realistic like racing. It's great. It's a great issue to have. I would rather have that than it be disgustingly easy like F123 was. As good as F123 was, tyre wear was pretty much never really an issue unless you were on the softs. You know, the hards were absolutely overpowered. Same thing with F124, but in F125, that is not the case, as it's now took us a few laps to actually catch up to this pack right here, who haven't pit yet. They are still on that first original stint. I don't think Piastri is. I think Piastri is on the hards now. He's making his way up the field. Bortoletto is the one holding this grid back, this little train here. Piastri is going to get past him, so we're not going to get anywhere near Piastri. Piastri is going to get into acres of clean air, so he could be in a really good position by the end. Actually, he's got a Williams ahead of him, so that is a really good spot for Piastri. I'm guessing like a P5 or a P6 for him as we look to make the move down the inside of Jack Doohan here in the Alpine, and we're looking once again to chase down Esteban Ocon. Once again, these guys are still on that original stint, so we're not going to have too much difficulty, especially since Bortoleto is so slow holding up these guys. He is really struggling on those hards at this point. Ocon, I think, will be actually, I don't know what kind of stop he's going to be doing, but he's been on the hards for a while, same as Doohan as well. Ocon is actually pretty quick though, so maybe he pit from hards onto another set of hards, or maybe, I don't know. I know by the end of this race, Ocon actually ends up doing a 2-stop. From what I've seen, but we're getting a massive dose of dirty air as I try to make it round that corner, desperate to make the move once again on Esteban Ocon. This time, of course, we have much fresher hards, so yeah, a fresher tyre compound. Ocon is just not on the right strategy at all. Like I said, from what I saw at the leaderboard at the end, Ocon is doing a 2-stop, which is bizarre. Very bizarre from Haas. Haas have made a couple of bizarre decisions this season, but those bizarre decisions have actually gotten Ocon a fair amount of points and nearly got Behrman points in Spain if it wasn't for us. But we now fast forward to lap 29. Ocon nowhere near us, but it's actually Lance Stroll who is catching up to us, which is quite ironic considering the rumours swirling about us. And we know the truth. We're actually negotiating with Aston Martin, and Aston Martin getting pressured by investors to get rid of Lance Stroll. They want the Jordi Charisma and Fernando Alonso driver pairing for 2026. So Lance Stroll will be desperate to prove himself to maybe keep that Aston Martin seat. As we now go on to lap 33, yes, Verstappen is so far ahead. No competition at all, but the two Ferraris are actually pretty close to one another. Hamilton is on fresher tyres, so he's going to be looking to make this move. Leclerc will be looking to defend it. They'll be trying to be as clean as possible. Of course, Verstappen is nowhere near them, so they have so much room to be as clean as possible. There is Tsunoda and Norris off in the distance, but they're at the other side of the straight as Hamilton goes down the inside, clean as you like, but the two are still side by side. Leclerc must be burning that ERS, so even with Hamilton having DRS, Leclerc is able to keep side by side really well. This is such a great battle, but two does not go into this corner, and Hamilton just manages to take P2. That was a really good fight, and honestly, I keep glazing the game, I know, but it is so awesome to see so many battles, not just with us, but also with the other AI. It's incredible to witness, and yeah, this is quickly becoming my favorite F1 game ever, which, you know, isn't too difficult considering F1 23 was already the favorite, and this is the direct sequel if we're talking about you know, the different development teams. F1 26 is definitely one to worry about, but we'll talk about that when we get close to it, as we are now still in P9 defending against Lance Stroll, who is now right on the back of us. So we're going to be defending onto the next straight. I'm keeping an eye on my tyre wear. 70%. It happened in Austria. Was it 70%, 75%? Either way, it was the front left that burst, even though it wasn't the most worn tyre. So we could be in puncture territory very, very soon. So I'm trying to save these tyres as much as possible while also keeping Stroll behind. So even if we're not able to keep him behind, it's only a 1-point difference. This is as quick as we could be today, and a recovery drive from P17 is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. But if I can fight for P9, I'm going to fight for it. As Lance Stroll now has a peak around the outside, I'm going to brake a little bit harder than usual, go slower than usual through that corner, because I felt like Stroll was going to try a switch back there, so I made sure to slow that right down to make sure we weren't going on to weren't going to have an issue there. As we are now on the final lap, Lance Stroll, this is as close as he's ever been to making the move, going around the outside, but once again we defend that really, really well. I'm giving him acres of space, but he just doesn't have the grip. And of course he doesn't have the apex. We're getting to the apex first, and with that defense, that is P9 clinched for us as Max Verstappen comes across the line in one of the more dominant wins of the season. Norris is nowhere to be seen, so Verstappen starting to run away with the championship. It's a stark drop-off after the wins in Spa, but this is pretty much what I expected from a track like Hungary. I'm pretty happy with P9. I hope you guys are too.
It's another victory and a champion's performance from Max Verstappen.
And it's one thing to win, but to win like that in total dominant style, that was a fantastic drive, and it is not one that we see very often.
From lights out to the checkered flag, each and every driver has this moment in the back of their mind. Now it's time for their celebrations. Our podium, it awaits. And for those that have missed the Dutch national anthem, fear not. It's back again because Max Verstappen is back on the top step.
A pretty decent result, all things considered, with that P9. Yes, it's a stark drop-off from the wins last time, but like I said, a track like Spa and Austria, they all work really well with, you know, us having the most powerful powertrain, but of course we have one of the more weaker chassis and aerodynamic packages among the grid. So when it comes to tracks that are a little bit more technical, we're going to struggle quite a bit more. But considering we started in P17, we got up into P9, yeah, it wasn't too bad at all. Maybe if as many cars weren't getting in the way and we were able to keep up a little better with Piastri, maybe we could have gotten a P8, but yeah, all things considered, that's a really good result for us as Max Verstappen does take the win. He'll be extending his lead in the championship, and Lando Norris will be really worrying about the rest of the season, as we are now over halfway through it. But guys, thank you all so much for tuning in and watching this episode of F1 25 Driver Career Mode. Next time will be Zandvoort for the final time before we use the reverse tracks in Season 2. If you guys are looking forward to that, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you are new. And I will see you all next time for some more F1 25 Career Mode. Peace!